the new type of rice which produced the rice green revolution, and we help your scientists produce the corn that can fight mildew. When your scientists could not produce it, we did. That center is going to be developed. We are also hoping to be able to exchange technology on non-conventional energy and other matters.
It has been reported that your government will seek $2 billion in rent from the U.S. for the Philippine bases. Is this an accurate report?
No, it is not. We have never talked about figures.
Louder and clearer. We can understand the question.
The question was, is it correct that we have demanded $2 billion in the rent? The answer is no. We haven't quoted any figure. What we have asked is this. We want a study. What is it that is necessary in order that we can perform our job? You and I know that if the Philippines is attacked, the United States is not necessarily bound to immediately react, because the provision of the Mutual Defense Pact is that you will immediately take steps as is necessary to meet the contingency in accordance with your constitutional processes. What does that mean? That means that you go to the Senate and the House of Representatives. What does that mean? That means delay while we are dying there.
Most of our allies in Europe, concerned about resisting communism, give the U.S. free bases and even share the cost. Why shouldn't we expect the same kind of cooperation from the Philippines instead of demands for more rent?
Well, for one thing, you haven't exactly paid for what we lost in the last war. If we must make an accounting, 75% of our cities were devastated in the last war. We lost 1 million men. Shall I quote you the statements of Roosevelt and MacArthur that every Carabao will be paid for? Shall I tell you that the veterans who were inducted into the USAF, the United States Armed Forces of the Philippines, of the Far East, your armed forces, were paid only 1/2 the salary of your soldiers? Shall I tell you that we almost turned communists because you refused to recognize us? Shall I tell you that I had a difficult time stopping my guerrillas, 25,000 of them from joining the communists, because precisely you sort of forgot that we had done the fighting for you, you know, and we were parts of your armed forces. But in fairness to the American Congress, when we came here and we called attention to the fact that we had been abandoned and forgotten, they themselves, in outrage, immediately passed a law recognizing the services of the Filipino and reinstating them as parts of the United States Armed Forces in the Far East, including back pay and benefits. That, Madam President, is the answer, in addition to the fact that those people that you are talking about have been making money at the expense of the United States for quite a long time, while we have not.
After the attack on Pearl Harbor, U.S. bases in the Philippines could not be defended. Why should we expect that in another war these bases would be more reliable?
That's one of the questions that I wanted to find out.
I'm walking on a tightrope, actually. I cannot afford to be brave in the mouth against China because, well, we are avoiding any confrontation at a confrontation that would lead to something which we can hardly afford. At least not at this time. Kaya ako naman sa Amerika, well, in the past, marami silang, ang paghihinakit ko rin, we ask so much of them because they have taken so much from us. Libre sila to advance their troops in our land. Okay lang yan sa akin. But we do not like it because we want to remain neutral. We do not want to quarrel with anybody. But for the reason is that the exigency of the moment requires their presence here. Okay na lang ako dyan. But in the past, we ordered so much from them and so much were not delivered at all. Kaya huwag ninyo ako, kaibigan ako ng Amerika, kaibigan ako ng China. But what I don't like is yung para kang bata na they promise you and ganon yan eh. Mapunta yung mga top brass nila, this group will promise you. Once they take off, they forget all about it. And nobody is following until you keep on reminding them. Until such time that I was able to talk to President Trump, sinabi niya what are our requirements. So we need the guided rockets. We have been asking for it. And as a matter of fact, we are willing to pay for it, Mr. President. But until now, it's still in the air. I think it was delivered after a few weeks, few months. Kaya ganon, do not be surprised with my... I'm not allied with anybody. I am ally. I'm ally. Ialay ko, buhay ko, pati ang alay ko, ang Pilipinas. Nobody else. Iyon ang tandaan ninyo. Kung marinig niyo ako, it's the game here is geopolitics. The theater is really geopolitics. So ako naman, I'm just hold on my salita ko, not really to seriously offend. But sinasabi ko sa kanila na hindi pwede ito. I would like to put on notice if there's an American agent here that from now on, you want the visiting forces agreement done? Well, you have to pay. It's a shared responsibility. But your share of responsibility does not come free. Because after all, when the war breaks out, we all pay. You, kami, were nearest to the garrison. There were a lot of arsenals of the Chinese armed forces. Yun lang, kaya makita mo minsan suplado. Suplado talaga ako. When I deal with them, talagang nagiging suplado ako. Simply because of past and the pinaka-past until now, kung hindi mo makausap mong presidente. Dito ngayon wala akong, I don't expect anything. It's different when it is the Republican and a Democrat. A Democrat, yung migration, they are allowing migration left and right. But that is their problem. Ang Amerika naman is war hawks talaga sila. But at least, inaano tayo. Nilalagay lang sa backburner yung mga samaan ng loob. So when the opportunity came and I talked to President Trump, sabi ko talaga sa kanya, we are hoping for that, we've been promised, and until now, it's still kaput. And I hope that the Americans would take notice of that. But their nearest possible inconvenient outpost would really be the Philippines, the eastern side, and Palawan. Kaya tandaan nila yan. I hope they would understand that we are nearest to a theater of war. Ang banatan dyan, it would be submarines and aircraft carriers and all. Madadamay talaga tayo. I do not want to participate in any adventure of that kind, if I can help it. I am not against the Chinese, neither am I, hindi ako pro-American. I am just a Filipino government worker working for the interest of my country.